Hi, I'm Josh Wills, and I'm the technical lead of our Apple practice here at CDW. I'm joined today by...
Hi everybody, I'm Kyle Davis. I'm the Head of Solutions at CDW.
Hi, I'm Mike Callett. I'm Head of Service Architecture and Design at CDW.
Hi, I'm Daniel Dance, and I work as a Solutions Architect at CDW.
So, I want to talk a bit more about testing strategy. We kind of delved into it a little bit, but we'll kick off with you, Dan, because you mentioned Apple Seed for IT. Let's go into that a bit more. What is that?
Yeah, so Apple Seed for IT, it's anybody that's already signed up for Apple Business Manager can access Apple Seed for IT and get access to all the beta software for watchOS, macOS, iPadOS, iOS, and even, I think, tvOS if you really wanted to. You just need to sign in to Apple Seed for IT, which is just a website, using a managed Apple ID, any managed Apple ID that you set up in Apple Business Manager, and then you can just download those. You can also download them, upload them into your mobile device management platform, and push them out to endpoint devices, so you don't have to manually do this necessarily. You can have it all set up so that you've got some dedicated beta testing devices out in the field. You can just then push out the beta software using MDM onto those devices, and it's just a great way to get some pre-release testing on some of these new features. Obviously it's all beta, so it's subject to change and stuff, but it'll give you a really good idea for how this new software, new features might work in your environment.
Why do we think it's important to do this beta testing before public release?
User experience.
User experience.
User experience is nothing like having something that doesn't work, right? And we've all been in a project where you've been making a change or a rollout and it started to go wrong for whatever reason, and then trying to get the employees back on board with the program of change is a very challenging thing at that point, right? So I think being very cautious on your rollout plans and the way that you test and adopt these into the wider field is extremely critical, because you're fighting an uphill battle if it goes wrong and you can't fix forward.
Particularly with iOS, right? Because we know that we've only got so long before those updates are going to auto happen anyway, so you've got to be kind of prepared. And I know with our corporately owned person-enabled devices, we get a set amount of days that we can defer for, right? So you need to make sure that, especially if you've got your own kind of line of business apps, that they're tested and fully working.
Yeah, and I think that deferral thing, I think that having it a mandatory you must upgrade by for IT and for the users is key, right? Because then everyone's on the same page. You know that if you don't do it, it's going to happen anyway, so you can either defer and let it happen, or you can actually plan and get it done, right? And I think that's where, over the years where that wasn't in place, that's why everyone's stuck on an older OS for a long, long time, because they didn't have to change and it just worked. Because we all know we've had Mac devices that I've had for 8-9 years. It still works really well, and it still runs an old OS, and I'm still happy with it.
My 12-inch PowerBook G4 still works absolutely perfectly. I mean, it only runs 10.5, but it still works great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you think why do you think organisations struggle with beta testing? What are the barriers they're facing to take it on?
Well, I think it's a certain amount of apathy from the past, right? As Kyle says, we've never had to do it before. We've had to do it, but it was always a lower priority. And given the fact that this is going to happen anyway at some point, it pushes it up the priority stack. I think previously it was seen as a nice to have, we'll get round to it when we get round to it. And actually all you're really doing is building up technical debt, you're building up further security, potential security holes in your platforms, in your applications. Now that you're forced to do it, you have to, and it pushes all of those things up the priority stack.
And it isn't just about testing the new version, right? Like from jump. There's obviously going from a 15 to 16 is a bigger jump, but we know that there's going to be those incremental updates through the life cycle of that operating system. And Apple Seed for IT gives you access to those as well. And I think you just touched on there, Mike, around the security. Is that if you're not up to date and testing on the latest version, you might be missing security updates that are going to put your business at risk.
Yeah, I think with these these devices that become ever increasingly mobile, let's say. These you can no longer hide behind a firewall in the network either. These things are connected, they're on the internet, they're not necessarily behind a corporate firewall. So it makes it more important than ever before.
I think the other thing on managing change, whether that's patching, whether that's OS major upgrades, if you leave it, what happens if you think of that curve, right? Nothing, massive project, then nothing, a massive project. So skilling up resource and finding people to do it, and the cost of doing it is actually more expensive than just doing this very kind of
more gradual approach
to these changes, right? So I think if you can get to that mindset where it's just, in a lot of cases, automated, right? Because you can get to a point now where this is, I'd probably say 80 to 90% automated on your behalf anyway.
Yeah.
And then there's the exceptions, right, which comes in where you generally your legacy applications or an end user that needs a bit more adoption and training.
A bit more help with it, yeah. And what if an organisation is really struggling, Stan? What can we do to help with that?
Yeah, so I mean, absolutely, we have services that we can offer to help you kind of do some of this testing. We can effectively put a device with some of your applications, test it out for you, make sure it's working. We can come in, help you design the actual testing strategy, make sure that you're pushing out the betas, making sure you've kind of got that early adopter kind of cycle process in place. We can help you identify champions, all of that kind of stuff. We can kind of help you with, get you to that position where you are able to start adopting these new softwares as early as possible, really, and getting all the benefits for great security and the user experience.
And that's our macOS rollout review, right?
Absolutely, macOS rollout review.